Hi, welcome to the Go Higher Frequency Astrology channel. My name is Suzanne. Join me as I investigate how the monthly cycles are progressing with a focus on how we can use this time more productively. Today, I'm going to be focusing on the full moon eclipse happening on March the 2nd and how it relates to the new moon eclipse. I'll be focusing on how this time is really disruptive for industry in general, and how the threads of Epstein and the tariff conversation are weaving into this time and comparing this time to the 1960s when we had a similar disruption. I have a lot of interesting things to talk about, especially about propaganda. I'll leave timestamps below so you can skip around to what interests you the most. As we approach the full moon eclipse on March the 2nd, I want to first connect the dots to the new moon eclipse. This is the new moon eclipse chart, which squared Uranus. And if you watched my new moon eclipse video, you'll remember that the new moon eclipse happened on the cross of industry with the sun here in gate 30. I talked about this eclipse mostly in relationship to AI, crypto, and the stock market. But there were some additional connections to this eclipse that I want to review now, specifically related to the Epstein Files and the Supreme Court's recent tariff ruling. The former Prince Andrew's birthday fell on the cross of industry, and his sun was aspected by this eclipse. His sun is conjunct Chiron, which is very near the eclipse at 28 degrees. And he was arrested not for sexual crimes per se, but for his abuse of office related to industry. Now, you might recall the new moon eclipse fell right on Trump's descendant here at 29 degrees of Aquarius. And that is not shown in the body graph. The angles are not shown in the body graph. But if it were, it would be in this gate 30. And the descendant symbolizes his known allies and his known enemies. And the Saturn-Neptune conjunction had Mars right on the midheaven in the location of Washington, D.C. And the day of the conjunction, after the Supreme Court ruled that most of Trump's tariffs were illegal, Trump was aggressively nasty in his response. Mars on the midheaven, claiming that the Supreme Court, which is made up of mostly his allies, was influenced by foreign actors. So Trump was born on a full moon eclipse. He was born on a Sagittarius full moon eclipse. And the Virgo Pisces eclipse is almost in square to his full moon eclipse. It's really aspecting his Uranus degree, and he's very sensitive to eclipses. It was right after the new moon eclipse in Pisces last year that he disappeared for a few days, and some have speculated he may have experienced a stroke during this time. This full moon eclipse in Virgo mirrors the full moon eclipse in Pisces last year. You see here that the moon is in Pisces, right on the north node. That was last year. And this year, the moon is in Virgo, right on the south node. So it's in a mirror to each other. And once again, it falls really close to the Pluto-Uranus conjunction of the 1960s, specifically the last two hits of that conjunction in 1966. You see that the conjunction happened in gate 64, and the full moon eclipses have been in these gates 63 and 64. And this year, it's going to be right in that Virgo gate of 64. And in fact, the last time we were in a fire horse year, which we're in right now, was in 1966. This time period of the 60s and the Pluto-Uranus conjunction brought in the consumer movement. And it was after this movement that the Powell referendum was penned. The Powell referendum was penned in 1971. And it was also on the cross of industry. You see that the sun is at 29 degrees of Leo and Venus is at 28 degrees of Leo. And so it's directly opposite of the current cross, which was at 28 degrees of Aquarius. So at this time, you saw that the Earth was in gate 30. That's what the human design cross is made up of. It's made up of the sun and the opposite of the sun, which is the Earth. And in 1971, Mars was transiting to the North Node of Aquarius. And the North Node is going to be going into Aquarius later this year. This was about the same time of the Nixon shock, when the dollar was officially decoupled from gold and we experienced a market crash. Now, I connected these dots earlier last year, presenting this angle from the human design perspective as it related to tech and the Christian right. I'll link that video below in case you're interested. But in summary, a key moment in the consumer movement happened in 1965 when Ralph Nader wrote an expose about the safety issues in the automobile industry. This expose was a key contributing factor to the release of the Powell Referendum. Musk was born this very same year, and I compared his involvement in politics as a reaction to similar regulatory hurdles he experienced with Tesla. Consumers had too much power, in his opinion, and that was the opinion of the elites at the time of the Powell referendum. Powell was a Supreme Court justice. He wasn't during this time, but right after he penned the Powell referendum, the elites put him on the Supreme Court. Now, this referendum kicked off a large-scale investment by the wealthy class into foundations similar to the Heritage Foundation. It is through these foundations there was a concerted effort to supplant ideologies favorable to industry, similar to what we see happening via Epstein's network. We've uncovered the vast network of elites who invest in these types of strategies to control the public narrative. And this was specifically used by Epstein to seed narratives that pit one group against another for political purposes. That was the backlash of the Me Too movement. Men got spooked, and Epstein took advantage of that. These efforts became much more advanced in the time of social media, and we've seen nothing yet. This full moon eclipse falls on the 2-4 cross of consciousness, which describes those who create contagious thought forms. And now we find ourselves at a similar crossroads to the 1960s, but one much further down the road as the roots of these investments have matured. We are grappling again with some of the same issues as it relates to the rights of the individual versus the rights of industry. But now we are questioning where one draws the line, as industry has gotten way too powerful, especially when industry has become as corrupted as the Epstein network clearly demonstrates. Should industry be so elevated that we destroy the human fabric of our society, our ability to survive the next generation? The second decan of Virgo, where the eclipse falls, is ruled by Venus in detriment. It speaks to accumulation or greed, taking more than one expends or not expending at all. In her book, 36 Secrets, T. Susan Chang says, we can also think of gain as a differential created by the outer appearance versus the inner reality, the image we put on in order to meet the world. The question is, does the outer glamour connect us to or separate us from that which we seek? I want to play a clip here that talks about this very issue. It's an interview with Jon Stewart and economist Oren Cass.
The problem is that the share of the activity on Wall Street and financial markets that actually represents productive investment, actually causing anybody to build anything new and useful in the world, keeps going down. And so even as financial markets, the financial sector as a share of our economy keeps getting bigger share of GDP, the biggest source of corporate profits, the number one place that people from top business schools go to, that keeps getting bigger. And yet in parallel, the actual amount of real investment happening in our economy keeps going down.
Right.
People have mentioned that Trump is simply a symptom of our overall sickness as a nation. He's America's shadow. And I want to talk about his design as it relates to America's obsession with money. Understanding his design has helped me understand his role in the overall scheme of things. Trump's a 1-3 emotional manifesting generator, born on the cross of Eden. Children born as 1-3 profiles on this cross learn very early on about the corruption around them, which they simply accept as a normal way of life. To them, it's just the way the world works. 1-3 profiles are typically more focused on the material, but you can also see his obsession with money in this channel right here. It's called the Money Line channel. Perfect. And his Uranus and North node is in gate 45, which symbolizes the material direction of the tribe. And it connects to his design Mercury in gate 21, the gate symbolizing the control of the material direction. Now, this channel is about one's individual tribe. It's focused on the tribe. He's not concerned with maximizing the material direction of anyone outside of his particular group, only those who are loyal to him. He's here to change our material direction, but he wants to control every part of that direction, even if it doesn't benefit you because you're not a part of his tribe. And the Supreme Court ruled that he could not control the heart of industry in this singular manner. He overstepped his use of executive power, and he couldn't keep using tariffs as a negotiating tactic whenever he wanted to. Basically, this ruling said he needs to collaborate with Congress as the main branch, which legislates taxes. Trump reacted so negatively because he can't functionally operate this way. It's just not natural to him. He's got this jack of all trades channel in his design. It's an experiential channel, and his Jupiter is in gate 57 here. It's the gate of instinct in the body graph. He's really ruled by this Jupiter. We've seen how instinctual he is. It's just how he best operates in the world. So speaking to the theme of contagious thought forms, the Heritage Foundation was founded on the cross of contagion. It's the right angle side of the cross of industry. You see that the sun was at 27 degrees of Aquarius when it was founded. It's in this gate 30. So it was aspected by this new moon eclipse. The Heritage Foundation has never been more powerful. In my new moon eclipse video, I talked about their key legislative plans targeting America's family, specifically women's roles in the family. This plan will drive the strategy behind women becoming more and more sidelined in what's left of America's industry. In the age of Epstein and Me Too, women have become too much of a liability. The initiative speaks to the failure of feminist movements of the 60s, which the Christian right blames for the erosion of the family. The other aspect of this Virgo decan is about the aloneness we find in self-sufficiency. The broader argument has already begun. What did all of this self-sufficiency bring you anyway? And I don't hear people talking enough about how AI will become a tool for this kind of concentrated mass manipulation at scale. Studies have already demonstrated the psychological harm of those particularly vulnerable to these AI chatbots. And OpenAI has already announced it will offer advertising in these chatbots. We saw the powerful effects of this as managed through social media. Can you imagine how much more powerful and extreme this manipulation will be through AI chatbots? Not to mention the dangers of the brain microchips that Neuralink is already developing. Now, I want to share a clip I discovered just this morning on February the 24th. This was shared by Cory Doctorow. It's a trailer of a book written by Naomi Klein, and it's about the creation of doppelgangers and how this phenomenon has been co-opted by political interests, distorting our identity so much that we can't even recognize who we've become. I've often warned about this cognitive dissonance as I started to hear more and more people around me promote this idea of an authoritarian as being more favorable to our current democracy.
Doppelgangers are often understood as a warning or an omen, a message that something needs our attention. Reality is doubling, multiplying, glitching, telling us to pay attention. Because it's not just individuals who can flip into a sinister version of themselves. The Earth can transform into a menacing, uncanny twin of what we once knew. Whole societies can flip. That's the reason many doppelganger works of art are ultimately about the latent potential for fascism within our societies, even within ourselves.
You see that Mercury is retrograde in this chart. It's still in gate 22, in the gate of social openness or not. And it'll move back into gate 63, part of the gate of consciousness. It's called the gate of doubts. And I also want to point out that Venus in this chart is in the crisis gate, gate 36. And that has been where Neptune and Saturn and then the North Node had been traveling. And you see that this whole channel of the jack of all trades is in our environment. And this is very symbolic to Trump's chart. If we do have a crash, it might be a blessing in disguise. I mean, do we really need to rush ahead without regulation when we've seen how much damage simple Web 2.0 has already enacted on us as a nation? We need to really slow down and think about what we really want for our future. Going fast and breaking things might not be the best idea for our future survival. But what do you think? Do you have any solutions to where we're headed? It's not like we can control exactly where we're headed, but we can wake up to it. And we can invite other people around us to wake up to it. And we can advocate for safer regulations and advocate for people's jobs and our survival. We can advocate for these things. We're not completely powerless. So we need to figure out, how do we get together as a community and make our voices heard? Okay, that's it for me. I'll see you next time.